My name's Yesenia and I'm a second year at Grinnell College here. I am concerned about crony capitalism. We have a provision in the Homeland Security budget that locks up 34,000 immigrants a day and was lobbied for by the Corrections Corporation of America. These private prisons benefit from this policy. If you're elected, will you end the detention quota and make sure that our policies are made for the needs of our community and not companies that lobby?
Well, it doesn't, ultimately, whatever the best way to enforce the law is how we need to do it, irrespective of who the provider is. What you're referring to is that we are finding people that are illegally in this country and we're putting them in immigration detention. And if we don't enforce our immigration laws, what's the point of even having them? Every country in the world has immigration laws. Every country in the world. Mexico has immigration laws, Guatemala has immigration laws, Canada has immigration laws. In fact, there's no country on this planet more generous than we are on immigration. Do you realize that every year 1 million people legally immigrate to the United States permanently? 1 million. No other country even comes close to that number. But we have a system that's broken. Despite our generosity, you still have hundreds of thousands of people coming to this country illegally every year. Despite our generosity, you have a system that's outdated. It's not a 21st century immigration system. And so we do need to deal with this issue seriously. And I've outlined the way forward. It begins by proving to people that illegal immigration is under control. Don't just pass a law that brings that says you're going to bring it under control. Prove it to people. Prove to people that illegal immigration is under control. If you can do that, the second step would be to modernize our legal immigration system, meaning that it will be a merit-based system, no longer simply a family-based system. The predominant factor in allowing people into the country will be what skills do they have? Are they going to work in agriculture, construction, high tech, whatever it may be, a merit-based system. And I honestly believe that if we can do these two things, if we can prove to people that illegal immigration is under control, and we can modernize our legal immigration system, then I believe people are going to be very reasonable and responsible about how to deal with the fact that we have millions of people in this country illegally. Some of them have been here for longer than a decade, who have not otherwise violated our laws. If you're a criminal, you can't stay. You'll be deported. If you're not, I think people will be very reasonable about dealing with that. And let me say one more thing about immigration, because your question is related to it. There's no one running for president that understands immigration better than I do. No one. My entire family are immigrants. My wife's entire family are immigrants. My neighbors are all immigrants. I live in a majority immigrant community. You know what that means? That means I know people who are here illegally whose stories would break your heart. Their stories would break your heart. They're here because their children are suffering from a disease and they came to America to send money back so their kids can get treatment. And I know people that are here illegally whose stories would outrage you. Some of them are even wealthy. And yet they found a way onto public assistance and they go to the hospital and get treatment and then they don't pay the bill and they leave. This is a complicated issue, but you're dealing with human beings. So we have to fix the problem we have and make sure it never happens again. This is a tough issue, but it all begins with enforcement of the law. Not because we're not a compassionate people. We allow 1 million people a year to immigrate here legally and permanently. But we have a right as a sovereign country to pick who comes here, how they come here, and when they come here. Every country in the world tries to do that. Some more successful than others. If we don't do that, we lose our sovereignty as a nation and as a people, and we're being unfair to the people that are trying to come legally. As a U.S. Senator, I get a lot of immigration calls in my office. The majority of those calls are not from people that are here illegally. The majority of those calls are from people that are trying to come legally or their relatives who are upset that they have paid thousands of dollars in legal fees and have waited over a decade to come legally. And they're wondering, why did someone who came illegally get to come cheaper and faster? This is a complex and difficult issue. We've been arguing about it for 30 years. The decisions that led to the problems we have today were made when I was in 8th and 9th grade. We need to deal with it and fix it and make sure it never happens again. But we also have to be reasonable and realistic about it. We are dealing with real lives of real human beings. And when you're dealing with people, it becomes a complicated issue that requires from us both responsibility, but also being reasonable about how to address it. And it all begins by proving that we can enforce and are going to enforce our immigration laws. And if you prove to people that illegal immigration is under control, that's the key that unlocks the ability to do everything else.